Hey everybody. So why don't we try this one more time? Let's see here. Field recordings wine. Here we go. This is looking better already.
There we go.
It
It
was a little
works.
dark, but at the same time, you're actually on though this time. So that's a good sign.
There we go. Yeah, I got to figure out. This is the latest I've done back here. I need to work on the lighting and stuff for my.
I don't know. Actually, maybe mine's just too bright. Maybe we should go for a little bit more of the film noir look. At the same time, I feel like, this is normally not the moneymaker for me, and I'm sure that the knowledge that you're going to be able to spout out doesn't require too much lighting anyway, so don't worry about that too much. But how are you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, no, doing good. Getting by with bottling today, and just keeping things rolling at the winery.
Nice. I was going to ask, how is, self-isolation for you guys? Because do you have family, kids? I mean, what's it like for you personally?
Yeah, so I have 4 kids at home, so we're doing the homeschool thing with.
No way!
Yeah, so 10, 8, 6, and 4. So
Dude.
so we're getting it's gone way better than what we anticipated. Actually, it's kind of nice. The school my kids go to in San Luis Obispo, they did a fundraiser over the last few years to get all the kids a Chromebook. So every kid has one. So I mean, my 2 oldest ones have 3 hours a day straight of Chromebook class. Via Zoom. And then my youngest boy is in kindergarten. He has 1 hour a day of it. It's pretty amazing, like the technology stuff. I mean, even like this, like that, the way this, like the Instagram Live, Zoom, all the stuff, like the way people connect still is pretty amazing.
No, it's honestly, I feel like, not to say that there's ever a good time for something like this to happen, but at the same time, everybody is now so connected. If this happened in 95, we would have just shut down completely.
Yeah.
We would have been done. Like, I've been watching, not intentionally, but because my wife's been watching Friends lately, they're on some marathon or something like that. I've been watching what the mid-90s was like. I don't know how we survived, really. I don't. I really don't. Hey, you mentioned SLO. Andrew, when did you graduate Cal Poly San Luis Obispo?
I got out of Cal Poly in 2003.
No way.
I was there from 98 to 03.
Okay, we overlapped by 2 years then. I was there from 2001 to 2005.
Okay.
Granted, I wasn't doing ag business or anything. What did you study while you were there?
Yeah, I was ag business, and I got a minor in viticulture, and you couldn't actually major in wine and vit at that time. Yeah.
No, that's changed though. I feel like say again.
I heard it's the most impacted major on campus, actually. To go
no way.
Yeah.
No way. Wait. So, do the architects know about this? I mean, are they okay with that? Because I feel like that was like their favorite thing. It's like, oh, you can't get into engineering or architecture. That was like their thing for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's pretty funny.
So.
Yeah, totally. Well, I gotta ask you. So, did you always want to go into winemaking, like when you went to Cal Poly?
No, I literally fell into the whole thing. It wasn't a plan at all. So I grew up down in Ventura, and I came up to Cal Poly to play football. Actually, that's how I got into the school and all that good stuff. And it's kind of 18-year-old, meathead lineman, and the coach told me I had to pick a major, and it was, I'll do ag business. It's a little more specialized than just getting a regular business degree, and all that, and like literally fell into it. Then once I got into it, this is one thing too. I think is most of our crowd probably get some San Joaquin Valley folks on the.
You know what? There's San Joaquin Valley, but I actually, because I went to Cal Poly, then I grew up in Orange County. I'm pretty sure my mom and all her friends are watching, along with my brother and family and other people. It's all throughout California, really.
Oh, okay, cool. So the one thing I joke about is I didn't know what FFA was until I got to college. And then I ended up being in agriculture. That was always like my wife gives me a lot of grief on that because she's from Tulare County, and and so it's all like, ag wasn't a thing. I literally ag business seemed like a good idea. And yeah, then after I got into it, viticulture seemed like a lot better option than taking dairy science or poultry management, my ag classes. And like
I
one
would
thing
say
led to
though, but
another.
like around that time, sorry, not to cut you off, but it was a pretty small. I mean, Paso and the wine country that you're in now, it wasn't very big back in 2003, 2005, man. Was it? Like it was pretty small.
So the vineyards had a boom in the late '90s in the area, like
Okay.
you know um, late '90s going into like 2001 was really big for vineyard development on the Central Coast, but then
Okay.
it stalled really, quite a bit, and then wineries kind of boomed from there. But I'm not even sure how many wineries there are in Paso now. I think I know there's like over 300 bonded wineries technically in Paso. So
Yeah. Yeah, and they keep growing all the time. I feel like, whether or not it's just more labels coming from the same wineries or what, but like it's also cool because especially Andrew, like the thing I mentioned actually on the last broadcast 10 minutes ago was that like what's going on in Tin City and in Paso is something really cool. Like this collaboration, this kind of like cross-pollination of you have, what's going on at Field Recordings, but you also have the Fabulous, and then you have Sans Liege, and then you have Desperada. Like there's so many things that are all happening in one spot. It just seems much different than what would be a little bit more of an old school approach to winemaking. It seems collaborative. Is that accurate though? Or what's it like at Tin City right now?
Tin City has been turned into something that I never expected when we got going. I mean, when I moved down there, so Field Recordings was the first, permitted winery in Tin City back in it'd have been in 2012. I moved in there. It was my first vintage there. So, at the time it was like I'd gotten to a spot where I was working at a co-op, custom crush places, and I had everything of my own. The only thing I hadn't bought was a forklift. It was like, all right, I can just go get my own building, and then I'll get a forklift, and this is all going to work out. It was like a nice, quiet place to make wine, because my other life is in the nursery business. I grow grapefruit stock. I work for a company that does that. That's my day job.
Right.
And so then when I got down there in Tin City, like kind of word spread a bit. So I moved in, and then Brian Cerisi moved in with Jornada Wines. He was the second winery down there, and then Barrel House moved in. And Barrel House just has done an amazing job kind of embracing the community, and that's Paso Robles' beer, and even though they have the massive, I always say that like Firestone is one of the quintessential California craft breweries, and it just happens to be in Paso Robles, where like Barrel House is Paso Robles beer. And so like that was one thing I'd get a kick out of, like, Barrel House opened like a year after, and my second harvest there and stuff, like we would find cars in our parking stalls of people that had gone to the brewery for the night and didn't quite make it out of there. Find people sleeping in their car and stuff, and all that. And it was like, really like, I was slow to get into having like the tasting room and having things open to the public in Tin City. That was definitely, I got to give full credit on that to Brian Cerisi, because he was like all gas on that. This is going to be a destination. He thought it was, it had the potential of turning into something, and like, all right, like it sounds good. And that, and I've, pushed it and gone with it from there, and it turned into, something I never expected. Like the stuff that we've had in the community, like it's been such a good incubator for small brands. That's one thing with Tin City too, is like, I mean, 95+% of the people in Tin City are all people that are just like lifers in the wine business that started their brands by making 2 barrels on the side when their old boss let them, crush a ton of grapes on their own, and then it's turned into its own brand. So, it's pretty cool to see all the stuff going on. So many different amazing projects down there.
Absolutely. And I got to hand it to you too, Andrew. When I went to Field Recordings just for a tasting, I was hanging out with Danielle. She was showing me around, and even some of the tasting room managers are making like Moscato on the side with you. Like you're you know, feeding it. Like it seems like it's still happening too. Like the guys that you work with, they're figuring stuff out that they want to be making. Like everybody's got the bug there. It seems like when you're in Tin City, everyone's got this like good communal atmosphere where it's not competitive. It really is, like I said, cross pollination, which is probably because it's Earth Day. But at the same time, like really, it's just a lot of, you know, people working together. It's really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, no, it's like, I always joke. It's almost like we have like a little pyramid. It's like a pyramid sort of game as thing builds. But yeah, like yeah, for myself, you know, my assistant winemaker Tim has a great brand of his own that just does Gamay called Hollyhock Lodge. Hugo, my tasting manager, he crushed his first grapes this year. So he's which is interesting from when he and I started working together to what he wants to do now for his wine and how that's morphed. It's been pretty cool. You know, but then like, you know, Kurt, my business partner for Fabulous and Tin City Cider, you know, his assistant winemaker is going to crush his first grapes this year for his to be determined project. Kind of second guy, Cellar Master, he actually just crushed his first stuff last year for the first time. Like it's, you know, and then like with Velia Desperado, like, you know, I've heard Riley, Velia's assistant winemaker, has got her place like pretty close to, yeah, she might actually have her own building here. Like, you know, I don't want to speculate.
What's her name actually? Because I've met a few people that work with Velia, but I don't know.
Yeah, so Riley
making wine next week.
Hubba Wines, it's killer stuff. So, but
nice, man.
So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the works. You know, so many.
There's a lot of good stuff.
But yeah, that's one of those things. I can see how it's everything evolving. Like, what'll be the next thing in Tin City? So, I saw we got a question on where is Tin City? It sounded like.
Oh
yeah. So we're right off the highway in Paso on the frontage road, half mile south of the Firestone Walker Brewery. But you can't see us. We're behind all the tractor dealerships. So.
Granted, I mean, with Google Maps, it does a fine job. I've never had a hard time finding you guys. And once you get there, you know you're in Tin City. Like it's a destination. The signage, everything else, like it feels like you discover something, but it's not too hard to find you guys. I gotta tell you. So,
you can spend a whole day there
too. And then I'd love to be able to jump into to trying some wines of yours. But you know, what projects are you working on right now? Because you have so many things that you do, Andrew. Like, I mean, whether it's cans, whether it's, I mean, like you said, your day job or anything else, but like, what are the projects that you're excited about and that you're working on right now?
So, this last year was like a kind of a fine tuning year for us. We were like going a little bit more focused on things. We've been really, there's been some things that we make that have caught on a little bit that, you know, become main programs for us. So like, Pet Nat being one thing that's a huge deal for us. Like, you know, so expanding our Pet Nat program, expanding our orange wine program with the skins, like those two things have been huge. Doing a lot more Italian grapes. There's a thing. So one thing it's a tough thing right now in the vineyard business. Like the varieties that California has hung their hat on are not the most economically feasible for the long term. So like basically Cabernet and Pinot Noir, they don't produce enough fruit per acre at a quality level enough per acre to where the stuff just doesn't end up being luxury goods. And I like making a, you know, craft handmade bottle of wine. I mean, our total team is 9 people, and that includes 3 that work front of the house. So 6 people are the only people that touch anything. I want to make a delicious, and I hate using like that craft term because it's such a beer deal, but like,
it is,
you know, having a handmade product that's not a factory made wine that is affordable for everybody and all that. That's a big thing for me too, is affordability. I want wine to be an everyday type thing. Like I look at it as it's wine, like our competition of like, you know, versus what are you going to choose for a nice drink after a long day? Are you going to go reach for a glass of wine? Are you going to have a beer? Are you going to go have a cocktail?
Yeah.
And I hope people,
Yeah.
it's a, you know, choose wine. I mean, it's the most interesting and least commoditized alcoholic beverage.
It is.
And there's so many cool things and so much diversity in it and all that. So it's that's a big thing for me. So going back to the Italian varieties we're getting pretty excited about is so the one thing that's great with Italian varieties is they can be very high quality at a little bit higher production levels, and the vines are usually like bigger vines, bigger crops, more in balance. I think balance is a big thing with it. So the other thing too, like you see a lot of stuff where there's a very adversarial relationship between vineyard manager and winemaker. You know, like if you talk to a vineyard person, they always complain about how the vineyard managers are trying to go out there and tell them how to farm and all that, and they just need to stay in the cellar. And a lot of winemakers do need to stay in the cellar and not, you know, like these vineyard managers are out there micromanaging every vine that's out there, and so like having a more collaborative relationship with the growers. So that's one thing that we're really big on. Like, I'm not going to go out to a vineyard and tell that vineyard manager to how they should be farming those grapes. Like, they know that property better than I do. There's certain things that I look for that maybe make it a property that I want to work with. But so with going back into the Italian stuff, like Italian things, like, and then the other thing too is, you know, I need to make a wine that's affordable, but it's also something that's an economically feasible business, and I need that vineyard to be able to pay their bills and all that. So, like, it's a win-win. We can, so we're doing, so we've been doing a lot more stuff with Sangiovese. That's been for the last couple of years because our Fredo,
or I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Is it Fredo?
Fredo. It's chill in Italian. So. That's the other thing too. It's kind of funny with talking about my neighbor Brian, because Brian only does Italian varieties, and it's always such a kick. His glass comes from the Italian glass plant. His corks are from the Italian cork producer. His like everything. I mean, he's got a pasta factory next door. You know, that like is all Italian goods. You know, and so it's kind of like this joking thing because you know, my last name's Jones. I'm not part of the right tribe. You know, to be like embracing the Italian thing. But like I'm big on the Italian varieties right now because I think that's just for the type of wines and also the wines that people are liking to drink that have a little better acidity, that are not just like these huge, massive cocktail type wines. So doing the,
which I gotta tell you, Andrew, I've been getting a lot more people asking for stuff like that. Hey, Trevor, do you have anything lower alcoholic or, you know, lower alcohol volume, you know, stuff that I can basically be drinking during the day? Especially lately, people have been, I think, enjoying happy hour a little earlier and earlier as they work from home. And so like people have been asking, hey, is there anything that is not like the 18% Zin that you might get once in a while or whatever? Like, is there something that's a little bit more European style? Like I definitely have been getting that more and more lately.
Yes, so like we're going with that Sangio. We did Barbera this year. We did Lagrigne this year. We did Nebbiolo this year. Nebbiolo is also kind of the one we did that was Tim and I fanboying a little bit on Nebbiolos we've been drinking. So with Nebbiolo, let's see other things that we've been messing with. Oh, we got new blocks of. Well, I've been messing with varieties from Veneto. So like Corvina, Rondinella, Molinara. Which would go into Amarone typically.
Okay.
So we've been messing with those varieties. Charbono. We've been playing like the new variety game a lot at Field Recordings. Just
let me ask you then, like through all these new varieties, like is there one that you're like, okay, that turned out way better than I thought, or like I'm stoked on this one? Because I'm like, there are so many things. Like when I want to parlay this into a different question that I've gotten from a few different people so far, but like, is there one that you're like, I'm stoked on this? Like, this turned out way better than we thought it was going to. This is really cool.
So it's been it's like a combination of things on how some things have turned out. Like we're really stoked on the Corvina. The thing that's weird with the Corvina is it's this super pale wine that it's not even, you know, like you pour it for people and somebody thinks that you just pour them like a dark rosé, and then they smell it and they taste it and it's got the body of usually those two things go hand in hand with tannin and color. and Corvina has no color, but it has a ton of tannin. It's really weird.
That's crazy.
That's
fun.
So like that's one thing we've been really stoked on. Charbono has been one that we've been really stoked on. Our Charbono this year finished alcohol at 9.9% alcohol.
Nice.
We have 2 wines that are under 10% alcohol, and you would never guess when you drank them that it was that low in alcohol. Like good body and all that. So messing with some of that stuff. What other things have we been screwing around with?
I mean, not like that's not enough, really. I feel like that's a lot of stuff to be screwing around with. Jeez, I mean, because that's all on top of the things that you've been doing for a while. Because like you started with Jurassic Park, didn't you? You had Chenin Blanc back in 2007, and then you've been building on top of that since then. But I don't think you've really like eliminated too many things. You've just been building the whole time.
Yeah, we've just been building the Jurassic Park Chenin Blanc was my first wine. Yeah, we started the brand with making Chenin Blanc. That's still a core item for us. We do our old vine cuvee with the blue label, and then we make all of our Chenin Blanc in these, or for the 2 main vineyards, Shell Creek and Jurassic. We make them in these 1,000-liter German cigar barrels. They're
Wait,
massive.
Are those the things in the tasting room?
No, so those are our American Oak upright fooders, and then
because I remember seeing that and pretty shocked by those, but still,
that's a cool thing that we've been messing with too for years. Because for our red wines, I like American Oak, and especially for like the really soft tannins that we get in Paso Robles, American Oak works a lot better. It's complementary, but then for some of the varieties, it works really well with that large format barrel. So like we're actually the only winery in the country to have those tanks, because we learned about those guys through some beer folks. Like these guys are huge in the beer scene. They're based out of St. Louis, and they make large format oak casks out of American oak, and it's been a good little deal. So yes, and then we're using the German barrels for the Chenin and all that stuff. We mess with all. I like barrels. That's one thing too. Like we're very hands off on the winemaking approach, but I do like oak and barrels, and they can be complementary to the process. And it's not like you're reinventing the wheel or using some modern technology. We've been using barrels with wine for centuries. So
they have, man. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty sure back in Sunday school they told me about wine skins, but we don't need to go into that by any means. I was wondering though, hey, now that we've been talking for a while, I know there's plenty of people on. Would you be down for tasting maybe either the Pinot or the Chardonnay from Wonderwall, or tell us what we should be tasting when you drink it?
Let's do that. So, we thought we'd do the Wonderwall wines tonight. So I have a lot of different labels, but I like to call Wonderwall the Passion Project, because when it comes down to it, I'm a Burgundy variety fan. I love Pinot and Chard. And the other thing that's weird too on this is, I make a jillion things. I always say I grow and make everything from Albarino to Zinfandel. But when it comes down to it, like Desert Island wine, I'd be a Chardonnay drinker. Because like Chardonnay, like there's so many different things you can do with it. It can be so basic, but also so dynamic, and like for me, it's the I can geek out over Chardonnay more than anything else.
I feel like, I don't know if you've ever been, have you been out to Fresno anytime recently, Andrew? Because I was going to say, next time you make it out, I feel like you need to stop into, once it's open again, Max's. Because Josh Wright, one of my friends here, he is all white wine, and he's a huge fan of yours. And I feel like you just made his day by saying, like, not only do you like Andrew Jones, Josh, but Andrew Jones also likes the same wine you do. So you guys got to definitely hang out at Max's sometime next time you come out. So just, once it's all open again.
I just saw a comment there about like somebody rethinking their feelings about Chardonnay, and it's one of those things, like there is a lot of people that like, they think of, Chardonnay as your mom's wine or your grandma's wine and all that stuff. And like, the reason though that Chardonnay became such a big thing and became so generic in some avenues is that it can do such amazing things. Like that's, and it's, I can geek out over the Shard over anything. So I'll take
Yeah,
the big
no, hey, feel free to
ones.
geek out. I feel like if you don't geek out, I don't know why I mean, that's the whole point of my calling you. You're supposed to geek out, so go for it, man. So, okay, I just poured it. Tell me about, so it's Edna Valley, or where's the Chardonnay from?
Yeah, Edna Valley. So Wonderwall, we focus on the Edna Valley because I think for Pinot and Chard, Edna Valley is the most underrated for those varieties. So I work with a few vineyards through there. One called Spanish Springs. It's right on the edge of Edna Valley. It's technically a Pismo Beach address, even.
Oh, okay.
Work with another vineyard called Moroview. That's a little bit more inland. That's over kind of by Chamisal. Those are kind of two of our main ones. We also work with one. There's a touch of it in here that, but under the allowable percentage, that's on the edge, technically in Arroyo Grande Valley. That's out just past Cali. Called the Coquina Vineyard. So Edna Valley is actually the coolest growing season in California. It has the least amount of growing degree days. The only thing that can rival it is the northern end of Monterey. Like, you have to be a Gonzales address. Yeah. So it has in the viticulture stuff, they always like measure these degree days of like when the temperature's in a certain window and how many days that happens and all that. And least amount of degree days, Edna Valley. So super cool region 1, they like to call it. And so we get a lot of hang time. The vines tend to wake up. Like, that's one challenge in Edna Valley is some of the sites are so coastal that we don't have a lot of chill hours. And we like the best years in Edna are the years that we have the hardest or coldest winters because the vines need to go dormant. And that can be a problem there. Spanish Springs is only 1.2 miles from the Pismo Pier. It's that. So that is one thing with Edna. So we get really bright acidity, a little bit lower alcohol levels, and all that. So for Wonderwall, pretty much all of it's done in barrels, but mostly neutral barrels.
Okay. We'll use because this is not buttery Chardonnay. Like, this is crisp. This is really easy drinking. It's not what I would say the overpowering Chardonnay that I'll get once in a while. It's called the California Chardonnay. Like, where hey, it's really oaky, like super buttery. This is refreshing. And when I first had it, I was like, oh, this doesn't taste like Chardonnay to me. This tastes like something more refreshing, but it's because it's neutral barrels, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so a lot of neutral barrels. There are some new ones on there, though. The other thing is that acidity is so high. So we don't use a ton of sulfur at the winery, so it does go through full malolactic, which is also a trip on this, that it doesn't get that. It'll get like a touch of creaminess, but it won't get buttery. So that's one of the big things is like we want that creaminess, but we don't want it to get to the butter character.
No.
That's a big thing on like a lot of our red wines. We want them savory but not green. It's like you always gotta have that balance. It's like the
so is that one extreme too? Because you said savory but not green, or what was that again?
So we do a lot of Cab Franc, and so for like our black label Cab Franc, it's always we want it herbal but not vegetal. It's like a fine line of having like that savory herb character and it's going to just being like veggie bell peppery. Like you have to like toe that line. And I think that's the same thing that happens on Chardonnay. Like, you want a little, like just a skosh of richness, but you don't want it to turn like it can go into that butter bomb real easy.
Right. Totally.
So
totally. I mean, I don't. I know that some people that's what they've gotten used to, but at the same time, if I can say, like, lately, people are trying to look at drinking wine a little bit more like, hey, I'm running a 5K or a little bit farther rather than like I'm taking shots or a sprint and just having one glass. Like, hey, if I want to enjoy this for a little bit and not have my mouth totally like overpowered, then this Chardonnay, I gotta say, man, is like super balanced. I was getting comments from Steve. He's one of my friends. He's definitely experienced when it comes down to drinking wine. And when it comes down to Wonderwall, it's one of his favorites because, again, it's like, it's that balance. Like, if you get too much one way or the other, like, I don't know, it turns into what is the reason why people don't like Chardonnay. But this is super, super balanced. So love it. But can I ask you, why is it called Wonderwall? Because like, one, love that it's called Wonderwall for all the Oasis reasons. The other thing is like every single label, man, like it has somebody that's kind of like breaking the limits or doing something different, right? Like, but why is it called Wonderwall?
Okay, so Wonderwall is the invisible barrier between you and your dreams, and so that's why.
Never knew that. Is that really what it stands for?
Yeah, that really is what it is.
God.
Yeah. So so that's why I wanted to put it on the Pinot and the Chard, because like for me these are really hard to make, because I'll drink something on Saturday night and then go to the cellar on Monday, taste my barrels, and I'm like, why the heck doesn't my stuff taste like this? Like I wish, like, you know, that's it's sort of a mind game too. These are the hardest ones for me to make because of that. Like I have the highest expectations and I'm the most critical of them. But then the other thing too, though, is like, and it's a thing in general about wine that I really like is, you know, every year we go into harvest that we are going to make the perfect wine. Like I can see that perfect wine. I can taste that perfect wine in my mind. I'm never going to get there though. I don't care what critic gives a wine 100 points. You could like technically pick any wine apart. And like that's also one of the things too, like with my team and everything at the winery, like when we're tasting through stuff, we really focus on, as you're tasting, it always has to be glass half full. So yes, this lot of this wine, yeah, it might be really lacking in this area, but don't think about what it's lacking. Think about what it's bringing to the mix. And like, you got to think about all that, because like, you know, lot A might have this great like floral aroma, but it's kind of flabby. Well, like we have these other barrels that have no nose to them, but they're like racy, minerally, you know, it's always go for like, always pick out the positives in the stuff. You know, and all that. So like, cause wine, tasting wine, especially with ending up doing this as for a living and stuff, it's like, you know, we could tear it. Every wine could be torn apart at some point. But like, you know, that's also why wine's so cool, because there's so many options and so many different things.
Totally. Not only that, but there's so many variables that you have literally, Andrew, no control over. Like this is so different than so many different products that you can make. Like, not to say that a lot of other products are easy, but wine has this complexity because, hey, you got one shot once a year. Not to be like Eminem, but like you got one shot every year with this vineyard. Yeah. And like, if you don't, like, if the rain doesn't or the soil doesn't, like, if it doesn't harmonize, like, that's it. Yeah. And that's what's different when it comes down to, like, if you're doing, you know, any type of spirits or beer or anything else, like, there is some repetitiveness that you can adjust throughout. But with vineyards, you got a harvest, and that's really unique. Yeah, totally. With all that, so I got a few questions, though, and, you know, I don't want to stop you though. Is there anything else that you want to throw out with this Chardonnay? Because it's outstanding. And again, I have tasted a few different Chardonnays against this when I'm trying to figure out, hey, what do we want to have at the shop? This always stays. This always stays. No one's been able to beat it so far when they keep setting this up, especially for the value and like the quality. But anything else you want to say? Like, what should we be noticing about it?
No, I mean, I think kind of like we're going for that like good acidity, touch of creaminess, but not be the buttery side. Other thing in it too, kind of goes back to my nursery background. We use a little bit of a special clone of Chardonnay in it. We can't use the entire thing, but we use a touch of it where it's a Muscat Chardonnay. Okay. So it's like the one where like, you know, it has that floral aromatics and it just makes that nose pop a little bit more. You know, when people, wineries talk about having like the spice rack and all that in the cellar, like, you know, it's just one of those things. So that's, I mean, that super easy wine for us to make, like all native yeast, like literally we blend it. And the only thing that we do is we'll filter just to give a little polish and bottle it up. Like there's super basic.
That's awesome.
Like, you know, it's nothing. Chardonnay too, though, is also one of those ones that, you know, people talk about how Pinot Noir is so hard to make. Chardonnay is a jillion times harder to make than Pinot Noir.
Like, well, they say that because they watched the movie Sideways. And that's not maybe because they've never made wine, but they saw it, and Paul Giamatti kept saying it over and over again. So it's like, hey, obviously it's true. It's in the movies.
Yeah. No, it's totally. Like, it's that's the most overrated thing in wine. It's one of the most. So
it is, and I feel bad because you want to know my favorite red wine is the Merlot from the Fabulist. And I'm like, Merlot got such a bad rap for so long, but like, it's just because it was like bad marketing from a movie, not because it was bad. It was just because like, yeah. Anyway, hey, can I ask you who comes up with your branding and your names? I mean, like, I keep getting a lot of questions about like, hey, we love like one. You have something called oh gosh, what is the most recent Edna Valley one that's like landscape, high end landscaping?
Oh,
Is that one
landscape?
that you can? It's like, yeah, you come up with like a name for a wine that's called Expensive Landscaping. You have other ones like Wonderwall, and like, where do you come up with these names for all these different wines as well as your branding? You guys just have a great team, or what's going on?
So when I originally started, some friends of mine they were wine guys that were into graphic design in San Luis Obispo, and
nice.
Got to give full credit to those guys for helping me get started. And like, they were the ones, like, I was making all these wines and didn't know really. My buddy Josh McFadden, he was the one that basically was the one told me about like how important the story is behind it. Like, he was like, you have a great story with everything that goes into your wines. Like, you need to be telling that. And he was the one that introduced me actually to field recordings with like, so field recordings being a recording of a natural occurrence, and that's basically what I'm doing. Like, that's the other thing too. Like, we're having varietal wines tonight, but I love when I go to do tastings and stuff, I always see how long I can go with talking about the wines before I actually tell people what variety's in it. Like, because it was some of them, like, it's that so people, place, and time capture in a bottle. That's that's the field record. So
in all honesty, like, you just nailed wine in general, because like I went on this random rant a second ago about how you have like one shot and like, again, 8 Mile, whatever. But at the same time, like, when it came down to it, though, that is what wine is. Like, you have, this harvest in a bottle that you have captured for you to then experience. And that is like a recording in some ways, where it's not like written down, but it is like a recording. I think that makes total sense. I never thought about it, but yeah, it's a natural occurrence recorded. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we started with that, and then everything from there. So he helped me out along to get started, and then that was my old label. That was these old bird flocks, and then I'd worked with some other designers around, and I got kind of tired of having, like, I'd spend a lot of time in my car. I'll drive like 50 to 60,000 miles a year around California doing my nursery job, and like that corridor from Avenel to like Tracy on the 5, like that's like the prime zone for ideas. Because I'm just throwing it out along the road.
You're taking a shower, your ideas come, or you're driving there. Those are the two places for ideas: either the shower or that corridor. Yeah.
So we, so then a few years ago, actually, it's been a while. I mean, it's like 5. Actually, it's 5 years ago, because I had a meeting Monday with Lauren, who's my graphic designer, because we were talking about how my daughter wasn't born yet when she and I started working together. So Lauren was she was like finishing up her 3rd year at Poly at the time, and was a great graphic designer, like had really good Adobe skills and all that kind of stuff. Didn't know a lick about wine and all that, but she was really interested in wine, and so she came on and started doing. We were doing, like, she was doing tech sheets and little different things here and there, and we actually turned it into a full thing for her when she graduated. So she and I have another little side hustle for me called Berlandieri. That's because the one thing is that I think is big on like the branding and that, like, you can have the greatest design in the world, but you don't have the content to match it. Then that's what it's needed to like totally click. And I can do the content side. I can't do the design side. And Lauren and I basically have like worked together for, we're been in it for a few years now, working together. Like, I can have like a concept and an idea and picture on it, and then she's able to digitize that and put it on the screen.
Totally. And I got to hand it to you, Andrew. Like, you've nailed it so many times. Because like what we saw when we first tasted, like I said, the Fabulous as well as field recordings was like, hey, you know what? We wanted to sell wine online. And people's first impression is going to be visual. Like, it just is. Like, even though you and I are talking about it right now, they're still watching and listening. And so I'm like, we wanted something eye-catching, so we got it. And at the same time, then we tasted it. And I'm like, oh, then we got people to buy it again. That's the thing. Like, I have some stuff that's really catchy as far as visual, but they don't buy it again. Like, I don't get people repeat. Like, when it comes down to the field recording stuff and the Fabulous both, like, I've gotten so many repeat buyers and people have just become fans. Like, for instance, my twin brother, he owns a coffee shop down south. I mentioned last time. Like, he might drink coffee all day. Then at the end of the day, he'll be drinking the Fabulous Zinfandel. Like, because it's like that kind of like consistency, as well as like it's visually stunning and then it delivers. Like, there's a lot of that's I feel like what branding is, though. It's like branding is the whole experience, like visually, tasting, the whole experience, really. But at the same time, like, yeah, I think your brands have definitely nailed it when it comes down to a lot of things. So keep going, whatever it is you're doing. Can I ask you too, for varietals, do you know, there was a specific one that somebody was asking about. I know they've grown it here in the Central Valley before as experiments, but do you know if anybody's doing Montepulciano anywhere as far as like a bottled Montepulciano rather than like a blending grape or anything else?
Yeah, so I believe there's one spot in Paso Robles that has it. There's a little vineyard out towards Creston that has it, very minimal. There is a vineyard, though, that we work with that's a brand new vineyard out in San Ynez that's out in the Happy Canyon area that has it. And that's actually one of our main spots for Italian varieties. It's a vineyard called Alta Gaviota, far end of Happy Canyon. And it has Sangio there, Barbera, Montepulciano, Nebbiolo, Lagrein are the 5 right now that they have. Okay. So that's been kind of like our little test plot for messing around with the stuff.
You know if there's any brand, though, or anybody that's actually bottling it, though, and making something out of Montepulciano other than...
I don't...
And maybe not, but at the same time, somebody asked, I'm like, you would know more than anybody, so I might as well ask.
I'm trying to think if anybody's got it bottled and branded right now. You know who might is actually... The one in Paso, the other thing that I just thought of, too, at Paso, there's that... It's Amy Butler makes the wines. I think it's called Pelletiere. It's on the west side of Paso, and I think it's all Italian. I think they might have Montepulciano.
Well, hey, I won't quote you on that. But at the same time, Gary, you're watching. He was the Somm from last week. He asked me the question. I'm like, hey, definitely I'll ask Andrew. But he's been curious about Montepulciano, and I know that I've been lucky enough to taste it because I worked at a large winery in the valley. And they had some vineyards as like test vineyards, but they weren't bottling or anything like that. It's a cool varietal. It's really cool.
I tried to get some from that Alta Gaviota last year. There just wasn't enough crop yet for the first one. That it's definitely something that could be in our future, depending on how the original buyer from that block if they stick with it or not. So.
I don't mind. I mean, if there is somebody I feel like in California that might put it together, because we're the one, like, when I think of like, oh, you know what? I really want to try orange wine. Oh, okay, let me go check out field recordings. Oh, you know what? I really want to try Petnat. Oh, let's check out field recordings. So I'm like, if anybody's going to have Montepulciano, it's going to be probably field recordings. And it'll probably have some, like, really fun name about it, too. Like, you know, I stained, like, we'll call it a stained armchair or something like that. I don't know. Whatever it is. You know, something random. I know we only have a couple minutes left before Instagram kicks us off, because apparently after an hour they kick us off. Do you want to taste some Pinot Noir? Or,
yeah, we can do some Pinot. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So Pinot, I have 2018 Pinot, and who's on the label?
So we got Lee Armstrong on the. This is the first time I've actually put anybody music on Wonderwall. Because it was always one of those things, like people relating it just to the song and all that stuff. I held off for a long time on the music, but like, yeah, it's always people done kind of great things in life or been like groundbreaking in their field. You know, we had the first vintage of it was celebrating Flight. We had Amelia Earhart and Buzz Aldrin. Then we went to Salvador Dali and Frida Kahlo. I did 1 year that we did all Teddy Roosevelt on all the wines. And it was like
that's when we started carrying it, actually, was Teddy Roosevelt. And I was like, oh, this is great. I just thought it was fun to drink a wine with Teddy Roosevelt on it.
It was. There we went to the Bennett sisters, which they were the original professional female boxers in America. and then now we went to music this year with Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and then we have Buddy Rich on the Syrah, which is the new addition to the Wonderful
new varietal. You guys, I tried that with Danielle when I was out there. It was outstanding, and actually, I feel a little guilty that I'm not killing it right now, but at the same time, that was delicious. It was outstanding.
So Pinot Noir, again, Edna Valley. Morro View Vineyard, kind of like the core for it. The Expensive Landscape Vineyards are also in there, which are these backyard vineyards back this area called Twin Creeks. It's kind of right where Price Canyon hits Edna Valley. We have some Greengate in there. We have, what else do we have in here? I'm spacing on this.
You know, if you say it with confidence, I'm going to believe
it. What other ones do we have in here? I'm spacing here on this. So,
no, well, more of you, though. You already covered the main ones.
But basically, though, like, between the Expensive Landscape Vineyards and then Morro View, that sort of, like, the other thing, it's like, Morro View is, like, one of our favorite vineyards for, like, we do Gruner from there.
Yeah.
We get Grenache from there for our Fiction Rosé. We get Chard from there. We get Pinot from there. We get, Fabulous gets their Albarino from there. It started out as Field Recordings Albarino. Now it's going to be Fabulous moving forward.
Because we just picked up the Albarino. It's a Morro View Albarino. We literally got our first case today, actually. Cool. So we're going to start doing that now. But it was outstanding. Especially, we're in the Central Valley, so it's now 80 degrees during the day. It's only going to get up more and more. So that's where, like, the Hawk. Oh, the Hawk. I don't know what you did to the Hawk. That is amazing. I love that stuff, especially here in the Valley. And then, when it comes to the Morro View Albarino, and then also the Fiction Rosé have been outstanding, especially when the heat hits.
Glad you like them.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to take you off. I fanboyed a little bit there. We can go back to the Pinot, but I just had to make sure to, like, give you praise for the things I did.
A lot of the stuff too that we make is always about, like, these, like, everyday table wines. Like, I love Edel's Victor wine from Alsace. We came back and we tried to make Hawk, like, and all that. Our Albarino, we actually, we put it in the bright tank that we keep for our wine spritzers, the Foxy spritzers, and we actually gassed the Albarino so it has that little spritziness, like the Vino Verde. Those are just great situational table wines, and, like, and all that. So that's one thing weird with the brand is, like, we don't really, like, some people ask me, like, sometimes about, like, do you get rated, or do you send your stuff in for scores and stuff like that? And, like, I don't do it. I don't fall into any categories. They do all their tastings based on categories, and I'm not in any category. They do. So
I know. And you know what? In all honesty, like, a lot of times ratings exist, and you can give me your opinion on this too, but at least I feel like ratings exist to try and simplify making the decision. Like, I want to get something I know I'm going to like. Like, that's what people, like, lean on, like, ratings for. Where, like, what I'm excited about too is, like, whenever I try a Field Recordings wine or the stuff that you're making, is, like, I know that, like, if I don't like it, it won't be because it's made bad. It's because maybe I'm not going to be a huge, Chardonnay fan, or a huge Pinot fan, or a huge, Edelsvik fan. Like, it's not going to be something that you've done. Like, it's going to be something that, like, oh, maybe I don't like that style necessarily, But yeah, ratings definitely can mislead, because, like, you don't have the same mouth as the guy that's giving, like, the rating, honestly. Yep. So, I mean, that being said, though, like, hey, what are some of the things we should be tasting, though, in the Pinot that we're having? Because this is outstanding, but, like, what should we be,
So I think the big thing for us on the Pinot is kind of balancing that fruitiness and savory side. So really easy to make a candied fruit bomb soft Pinot in California. We got plenty of sunshine. The grapes get plenty ripe. It's not like growing in the conditions of Burgundy. So we want to work with sites that are going to have a little better acid. We want that good acidity to it. We also are really careful on how much stems we use when we make it. So we take a good portion of them. We won't destem it. And so it's like a partial carbonic kind of fermentation. We want to bring out some of those like white pepper notes that it'll have in it. And then so that's always, like, kind of the thing. Like, We want that perfect balance of the, and so yeah, sorry, my battery just gave me a warning, so sorry if I paused. So the
No worries. I feel like your battery is also Instagram. We only have a couple more minutes left anyway, so don't worry about it.
So no, but yeah, getting that perfect balance of like the fruit, getting that like soft cherry, touch of cranberry, but then also with some of that like mushroomy forest floor sort of character, but then also with a little bit of that like white pepper and spice and all that kind of stuff. So you want like the whole gamut. So this is also,
and I feel like what you. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like for like the other thing too with Wonderwall that I think fits really well is like we're making the like, you know, it's a little bit more refined for like an everyday Pinot. It's not going to be that super soft fruity cocktail type Pinot that some big brands like to do. So, but yeah, no, this wine, I'm like, I don't know, the 18 Wonderwall, like I had this at this new restaurant in San Luis Obispo just before the shutdown called the Bear and the Wren. That was one of those I hadn't had the wine. I hadn't had Wonderwall Pinot in like a couple months. It's one of those things like once we release the wines and send them out, I'm really bad about going. It's like I've sent the kid off to college, and and so and I had it at dinner that night. I'm like, oh wow, like I can't believe like this came out of the cell. Like, so.
You made it though. It's like, oh man, I can't believe it. But yeah, you did that. That's funny. And at the same time, I feel like I'm sure that other people can experience the same thing whenever they're. I don't know how many you've named, but I think it's an easy baker's dozen side hustles that you're working on. So I'm like, I'm sure like once you release a wine, you're like, I got to get to whatever it is else I'm doing. I got to go. You got a few things going on. I got to ask though. So one thing that Gary last week, he's a som here in Fresno, and he had mentioned one fruit and one non-fruit. So what would be the non-fruit and the fruit? I heard mushroom or forest floor or cherry, or what would you say is the fruit and non-fruit for this Pinot Noir?
So fruit, yeah, you got to go cherry on it. And it's like not totally like, it's not really a dark cherry, but it's not like the super tart cherry. Really kind of middle of the road cherry on it for the fruit character. And then the herbal side, like, so one thing that I get for it, like it'll be the white pepper, but also celery salt. If you think about like that totally Chicago dog, like because it's like because there is also like a cinnamony quality to the wine, but then like for some reason, celery salt's always like one of the things.
You said that, and like I think of the same thing because I have a buddy, Steve, who's on right now. He would make Bloody Marys all the time, and the number one thing that we would have with it is celery salt around the rim. And I'm like, what's the big deal? Then I had it. I'm like, that's a specific thing that brings out flavor. Like celery salt is exactly what I'm tasting right there. So I hear you. Hey, with a few minutes left, can I ask you though, Andrew, like, what are some things that like either? Actually, I'll ask this first. What would you say we need to do to help either restaurants or wineries right now? Because like that's one big thing that I'm doing Instagram Live for right now. It's like, hey, I want to be able to do whatever I can to help out wineries as well as restaurants and people. Like, what do you think we can do to help out? Like, is it going to be buying wine? Is it going to be like ordering takeout? Like, what do you think we can do to help, either you guys out or like restaurants and places that you guys work with and love?
Oh, I think for the restaurant folks, do takeout if you can. Like I think people should have confidence that the restaurants that are, still working takeout and all that stuff, like, because I've heard some people like have concerns about that, just with all the stuff going on.
Sure.
They want the control.
Sure.
These restaurants are trained professionals on keeping stuff super clean for you. Like, have confidence in getting takeout. Like, that's one thing, like we try to have it, do takeout at least once or twice a week for our family, just to, keep the restaurant out. And then, I mean, on the wine thing, that's one thing that's been kind of weird with this whole thing is, I think wine, if you see those articles. Like, I mean, wineries are getting supported really well, but like, you know, looking for your craft, you know, the smaller mom and pop sort of producers, you know, taking that time to go to the, you know, an independent retailer like yourself, or, you know, in that versus just grabbing a bottle when you're getting the rest of your provisions for the week. Like, you know, I think that really will end up helping the wine business, because that's the gallows and the wine groups and all the big I mean, they're doing just fine. The grocery store wine sales are insane right now. Like, and they're doing just
really
fine.
are. Yeah.
Really what it comes down to for your wine purchases, work with your independent retailers, and that'll end up helping the wineries. So, or wineries like myself. So not to hype up your services too much for your audience here, but
hey, well, I've been doing the same to your services this entire time, so I feel like that's only fair. I mean, really. Can I ask you this then? Well, actually, two more questions. One, what are you most excited about? Like, what should I be carrying that I'm not carrying right now? So I have Moral View Albarino, I have Wonderwall Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and then these guys back here, the Blanc de Franc, the Hawk, the Fiction. What is the next wine that I should be carrying from Field Recordings or anything else?
Well, with the weather changing and all that stuff, and I don't know, you know, with wanting those like more refreshing wines for the heat that's coming at you here real soon, like, gotta get into the chilled reds.
Yes.
Fredo, you know,
Fredo.
like that.
Done.
Chilled red is I love the stuff. Like it's you know, anything that hits in that category. So so chilled red Fredo, that's one thing, like, especially with the time of year and everything that's going on. We're doing a thing for the winery on Friday. A customer in Minneapolis hit us up, like, you guys, they wanted us, their group of friends in the Twin Cities have started Fredo Fridays.
No way!
So we're actually doing Fredo Friday with them.
So, hey, then we're gonna get some Fredo, and we'll do some Fredo Friday. I say we, like, there's a bunch of people here, but at the same time, like, I will get some. And anybody that wants to do Fredo Fridays, I think that sounds like a lot of fun, especially because chilled reds, I mean, I am a huge fan. I actually just got one from Groundworks. God, what is it? But I got something.
The Groundwork Kuhnwa. Was it the Kuhnwa? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The other thing too for the chilled reds, if we're doing it on like the wine education side, drink it out of a low ball glass. It's amazing out of a low ball glass. Don't mess with anything like no stems required. You know, just you know, that's one of my favorites.
You got it. You got it. Hey, we only have now 1 minute and 49 seconds remaining, so I have one more question for you, and then I want to do some plugs or whatever. What is the one thing you're going to do once this whole shutdown's over? What is the one thing you're going to do?
New tasting room opening in Tin City. We're working on it right now.
Hey, you heard it, guys.
So
then, you know what? Sign me up. If you guys have any even soft opening, let me know. I will be there, and I will definitely buy way too much wine. Probably have my wife drive. Oh, hey, Andrew, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and how much I appreciate your wine and what you're doing. Please, like, know that I don't need to tell you this, but, like, thank you. Like, we all really appreciate what you're doing. You have a lot of fans in the Valley, as well as, like, through Bricks and Barrel. Like, you're doing a great job. So thanks, man.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Hey, and, you know, I'll let you go, and then I'm going to do a few announcements. So
cool.
Thank you. You get some rest and have a good night, man.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, I just have a few minutes left, but I want to let you know, if you liked any of the wines that we were talking about, all of Andrew's wines are going to be free shipping with 3 bottles or more. If you go to our profile, you can click on the link on our profile. If you buy 3 bottles or more, it's free shipping. Please help support Andrew and the rest of the team at Field Recordings, as well as, guys, next week, we're going to do it again. Only this time, we're going to finally have somebody without facial hair. We're going to have Valia from Desperada. Desperada is going to be on Instagram Live with Bricks and Barrel for Wine Wednesday. So come check it out. We're going to be doing some tastings and just talking about it. So, guys, I got to get going, but make sure to follow us and send us a DM if you have anything. Bye.